Good morning, guys. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing well. Eloy and Elizabeth and I are hanging in there. We're finding ways to get out, even if it's just out to the yard, but we're hanging in there, not going stir crazy quite yet. So, hey, we'll dive in and start today. We're going to be talking about Esther chapter 6. All right? Now, the story left off with Haman talking to his wife and his friends about his hatred for Mordecai. And chapter 6 kind of backtracks, and it goes back to the king after the banquet. It says that night after the banquet, the king couldn't sleep. He's tossing, he's turning, he can't find rest. And so he calls the royal chronicler. Basically, a chronicler's job was to sit with the king all day and write down what he does and what he decides and what he decrees. And so he calls the royal chronicler and says, hey, read me the story of what's been going on. Just any story from what has happened recently. He's hoping that maybe by reading this story, hearing it, he'll fall asleep. So the chronicler begins reading, and he comes to the story of Mordecai saving the king's life by reporting the men who were plotting against him. And as they're reading, the king's like, well, wait a second. Did we ever reward Mordecai for what he did, for how he saved my life? Chronicler responds, no, we never did. So the king's like, who's in the court? Who's up and about at this time of the day? Bring them in. I want to talk to them. I want to hear their opinion. And the scribe says, well, Haman's out. I see him out there in the court. Bring him in. Haman's a perfect one. Bring him in. And the king asked Haman, Haman, if you had someone who was loyal to you, who had gone above and beyond the call of duty, was just a great, great asset to your kingdom, how would you show your appreciation and reward them for their efforts? Now Haman, full of pride, is sitting there thinking, well, who could the king be talking about if not me? This must be about me, and he's just being vague because he doesn't want to give it away. So Haman says, well, king, if I were you, I think I'd take this person and put him in your robes, some more robes you have worn. And basically, it's just a way of bestowing honor, showing that this person has the king's honor or respect. And then Haman says, I'd put a ring, one of your rings, on his finger. And then I'd take one of your horses, and I would put him on it and have someone great and respectable go before the horse, crying to all the people as they parade through the capital, this man is respected by the king. This man is worthy of honor. Praise him. And I think that's what I'd do, king. And the king says, great, that's a wonderful idea. I want you to go and do it for Mordecai. And at this point, I'm sure Haman goes, of course, what? Mordecai? King's like, yeah, he saved my life. We never rewarded him. So I want you to go do that for Mordecai, okay? Sure. And so then we see the scene of Haman leading Mordecai around in the king's robes and with one of the king's rings on one of the king's horses. Throughout the town, Haman has to cry out, pay attention to Mordecai. Give him respect, for he has earned the king's honor. And for Haman, it is especially embarrassing and mortifying and absolutely infuriating because he hates Mordecai and Mordecai is his enemy, and yet now he has to go and do this thing that gives him great respect. So after this parade, Haman returns to his home. He's frustrated, he's angry, he's talking to his friends, and the servants from the queen's servants basically show up and say, hey, it's time for the banquet, you need to get going. And so Haman is pulled away and taken to the banquet. And that's basically the end of chapter 6. And we'll kind of pick up with the story tomorrow. Big takeaway, guys. The thing I want you guys to be thinking about today as you're going throughout your day is this. The king couldn't sleep. There was something on his mind, something working in his heart and his spirit, and he just couldn't sleep. And I think God was using that to try and get his attention towards something. Now, clearly, God ends up using it to reward Mordecai for his good deeds, but here's my point. There are sometimes in life where even little things kind of get our attention. and they cause us to think and work through issues. Sometimes they even cause us not to be able to sleep. Or there are times where we can't sleep. What I'm trying to say, guys, is sometimes God is trying to get a hold of our hearts. That it may be through not being able to sleep, it may be through just this uneasiness we have, but God is trying to get a hold of our hearts at times. And when that happens, we need to recognize that, hey, maybe this is God trying to get a hold of me, trying to talk to me, and turn to Him in prayer. Now, I know that's not what the king did when this happened, but God used it anyway. What I'm saying is, recognize when you're uneasy, when you can't sleep, when there's something kind of pressing you that maybe you should turn to God and talk to Him and see what He's trying to tell you. And then turn to Him and talk to Him and see what He's trying to tell you. So as you go throughout your day, try and pay attention for what God is trying to use to get your attention. Alright? I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow and we'll talk about Esther chapter 7. Take care.